today we're going to talk about data visualization and how to make your, it's okay darling, come in, how to make your data come alive basically instead of just typical charts and graphs. So the objectives for today are for you to understand the definition of infographics and data visualization. I'm struggling with that word today. Understand the difference between the two and have an opportunity to create one on your very own. Now this may be brand new information for some of you. It may seem old news for some of you, but hopefully you'll have a chance to either show your expertise or learn something. So as you know, our brains generally see in pictures. So what I want you to do first, since you're both paired up, how convenient is that? I'd like you to turn to your partner and let's see, the two people closest to me, I want you to tell your partner a very quick story of something in your life, like just really brief. Partner, I want you to listen for what stands out to you and what forms in your head as you're hearing the story. It's like 1 minute.
There was this one time at camp, I ate a cookie that was made by a cookie. We call them cookies, and we made them run around the cafeteria,
his hair was getting too long. Had pork and cheese curls on him.
It was cool.
Because he wasn't eating.
Fun
and he
fact,
needed to eat.
they could make
So
powdered
my parents
eggs,
got terrified, and they
like
decided
eggs
to
from
separate
powder.
us, so they did my
It's like Jello.
godparents.
It's pretty cool. It was like a science experiment that tasted like eggs. I would highly recommend it with Tabasco. It was
Okay.
really hot.
I didn't hear the story that was over here, but I heard something about powdered eggs and cookies over here. Okay, so listeners, as you heard the story, what kind of images came to your head?
Oh, images of terror.
Same.
I'm curious what the story was now.
Yes. Well, somebody was born,
Mm.
and then siblings cutting each other's hair, which could be really nice, very
Yeah.
nice. And then pouring cheese curls on people, babies. Yeah, very vivid images.
Okay. Meg?
There are images of people in like white chef's outfits running around a camp dining hall with cookies and then powdered eggs and Tabasco sauce.
Okay. So those are all very rich pictures of what was described to you. Now, I don't know if these stories were true or false. I have no idea, and I'm not going to, ask for any verification. But what our brain does is automatically process that into some kind of visual image for us. So that's how I'm going to start with us moving toward infographics and data visualization. So one of the most important things you want to remember as you're creating information to share is you want it to be interesting, relevant, and simple. So for example, if you're presenting data to a bunch of housing folks, you probably don't want to make it heavily scientific and a bunch of mathematical equations and those kind of things, because those of us in housing don't necessarily have that kind of background. So that we would want to have something that's more related to student development somehow, or pictures of a college campus, those kinds of things, and that would speak to us and be more relevant to us. Keeping it simple is probably one of the most important pieces of that, because it's really easy to get overwhelmed with images or overwhelmed with data. So keep those three things in mind. IRS, it's a simple thing to remember. As we all know, the IRS is fear-evoking, yeah, sure. As you also create these things, it's important for you to think like a designer or a storyteller. This is why I asked you to tell a story at the beginning, because as you try and tell someone, well, here is the EBI data across the last 20 years, you have to think of how are they going to understand that in story form. For example, we're often asked to prove our worthiness as a department and saying, why do we have housing? How can we justify this staff? Well, if you tell a story somehow to make it make sense to them, they're more likely to buy into it. Any questions so far? Okay. Data visualization versus an infographic. The two things are different, yet have a lot of similarities. Similarities is they both seek to create some order. They're informative. They're a visual representation. They usually convert some kind of number into graphics. They are static, interactive, or animated. And then this last thing I thought was interesting, and I try and get my mind wrapped around it so I remember it. Infographics can contain data visualizations, but data visualizations cannot contain infographics. So one contains the other, but the other doesn't reverse that.
Squares and rectangles.
Squares and rectangles, that's right. Okay, so here's the long and detailed definition I stole off a website, jackhagley.com, about what data visualization is. So basically, I highlighted a couple of things in here. It's numbers, it's objective, it takes a back seat to the data itself. The graphics take a back seat to the data itself. I underlined the wrong part of that. They are likely to be presented without context, so no explanation of really how they got the information, who the subjects were that the research came from, etc. And the other thing that's really important, often data sets can be so massive and unwieldy that it can be almost impossible or laborious for a human to process. So it's making something really ginormous into something understandable and manageable. On the other hand, infographics tell a story. They traditionally evoke some sort of emotion, and they are designed so that they're specific to a certain data set. So you may not want to use the EBI satisfaction data, the same picture for, I don't know, graduation rates. The two pictures may not just make sense if you switch the data. So it's specific to whatever data set you're trying to present, and it's very visual in nature as far as being simple and telling that story. All make sense so far? Feel free to ask questions. An example of an infographic. This is a very detailed infographic. Remember what I said about the infographics being simple? This is not that example. So this is an infographic of government, left-wing versus right-wing government. And I noticed that there are some numbers in here, right? Or am I crazy? No, they're not. So there's statement, here's some, so this is actually like a chart or a graph within an infographic. So this is one of those examples where one could be in the other. An example of data visualization. This makes my mind hurt. This is massive data into one thing. Yeah, exactly. And Maggie's making a face. I love it. So this is some serious scientific stuff that has some grossness to it, as you can tell by the bacteria and all this stuff. But it makes sense to somebody out there, but it contains, it includes a wide, massive amount of information. What do you say, Chris?
No, I think I get it. It's about the human, like where they find certain bacteria in, like, because it says like tooth, plaque, cheeks, gut, stool, like, and where they get all the different. I could see this being very confusing though.
But it is a good representation of data visualization, taking the massive and making it more simple. So could you imagine reading probably hundreds of pages of the data to get all of this? It would. Yeah, it would be sad. That's one way of saying yes. Okay, so here are some examples of what I talk about when I say traditional methods, the things that we all do, whether it be in our presentations or reports or anything else. And we are sometimes limited by how we can present these things. Our APA staff, for example, isn't necessarily going to allow us to do an infographic. You know, we have to stick to some of these traditional methods. But I want you to think about what these things are and how you might be able to present them differently. So these are all the different areas, and there may be some extra ones that are not shown on this, but examples of all sorts of different methods you can use to represent data. But it doesn't really show something like a simple piece of clip art of a cat. And what kind of data might you be able to tell by making one cat small and then having the same clip art big? What might that represent without even having to say what the numbers are? Growth.
More cats.
More cats. Maybe difference. So you don't even need the numbers to understand what that meaning might be. This is a video, I have to go this way because I'm not going to show you the whole video, it's only a couple of minutes. This will better explain what I'm talking about, if it links. Uh-oh, it's not linking. Hold on. Let me do my backup plan. 1 moment, please. Apparently YouTube doesn't want to link from here.
I thought that said goodly art.
What?
You have to use Chrome if you can.
Are you kidding me? I got Mozilla on here. Maybe that won't work. I'll explain why it didn't come up. YouTube. Come on. Ah, this is impossible. Okay, so I cannot show you the video because we have some really outdated.
How does if you press the space bar on PowerPoint? When it's on the
Space
video.
bar. I don't think it's connected, but I'll try that in just a second. Let me see if Chrome's on here at all. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I wonder how long that would take. You know?
I also think Sarah's got a huge phone. That could be like a TV screen.
I'll pull it up on my laptop. You want me to?
Yeah, that'd be great. I love
Or a new
people who
laptop,
problem
either.
solve.
That is a really big phone.
It is. So big it's holding the other phone.
Okay. Search. Oh. YouTube.
This is such a heavy cookie.
Yeah.
It's a cookie as a meal.
It's a Mookie.
Did you make that trip?
Of course.
Okay, YouTube.
And search for data visualization PBS.
That 10 gallon of milk
Okay, got it. Can you guys hop over here? And then,
And I hope you were paying attention. Now you see me too.
I don't understand why they don't call that movie.
Okay, I am going to.
Look, Galileo got his telescope. The theory of visualizing data is
Data visualization is not just some airy-fairy creative process, but it's actually a very linear process of decision-making that you can do based on some few basic principles. 3 things should inform your design always. 1 is you as the designer, what you have to say and what you want to communicate. 2 is the reader. That reader is not you, and they're going to come with their own context and their own biases and their own assumptions, and you need to account for that. And 3rd is the data itself and what that has to say and how that informs the truth. There's a lot of subconscious brain activity happening. We evolved for it to happen that way. We evolved to see things and make snap decisions. Are all those lines in the grass just dried grass, or is that a tiger that's coming to eat you? We have to be able to recognize those patterns right away and make snap decisions on them in order to survive. And that can be an advantage as a designer. You can communicate a lot of information very quickly because we all have brains that are designed to recognize patterns this way. But also, there's the other part. We react to design and to art and to the aesthetics of the piece just as much as we react to the emotion contained in it. And so if you want to change someone's mind, if you want to change someone's behavior, sometimes presenting the information in a visual format is the fastest way to get them to engage with that information.
truth is one of those ambiguous things that you can't really define and probably changes and evolves the more understanding you have. Data itself is a result of research, so I would say that data is just a clue to the end truth. I think a successful infographic tells a story. It communicates hopefully accurate and sometimes complicated data in a way that many people can understand. I think the first step usually is always dig really deeply into the data ourselves and find each key point and create a hierarchy and a narrative out of that story. When you start to merge different pieces of information and when you start to learn really what it's all saying, the narrative is clear. The one key fact that everything can revolve around is the hero of the piece. There's one single piece of data or insight that people respond to and kind of encapsulate the whole vision, and then invite people in to see the nuances and all the rest of the story around it. When you look at a piece, it's successful when it translates data from something that's complicated to something simple. When it communicates a message that otherwise would have taken somebody hours to digest and find in an instant.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sarah, for saving the day. Sure. Much appreciated. Okay. I'm going to a piece of paper, and I'm going to give you your first task. So now that you have all those things floating around in your head, I'm going to give you. Oh, I was like, where did I put my remote? I left it over here. I'm going to give you a quick assignment. So create a data visualization or infographic, whichever you prefer, that will show the increase in room changes at Seattle University from 2000 to 2016. You can make up whatever crazy numbers you want. Go. It doesn't have to be like art-worthy or anything. You can join us if you like. It's fine, just don't shake the table.
I was talking to Dan about Plaza.
Yeah, no worries. They're doing an individual activity at the moment. No worries. I will make you sit in my office and review the whole thing after we're done. I have an aha moment.
Shut up. Look over.
This
Sorry.
is not a competition.
But I
I think we just had similar thoughts.
And that's okay.
Mindset that
Then-
the cat's getting bigger.
Oh, well, and the okay thing about having similar thoughts is, guess who's gonna understand your infographic? Maggie and probably other people, or cats. My cat can probably understand some. About 30 more seconds.
Well, there's reasons to this.
See, Chris is going.
I really appreciate
appreciate this fan.
Yes, it's warm in here.
Also turns off as many more time. It's so hot.
Hang on, I'll listen through that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take two volunteers who would like to share their creation. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. So mine starts with House 2000, goes to 2016, and it gets bigger and bigger as it progresses. And then I've also added in the sun and the clouds above, because as the demand increases, the stress of what we're doing increases. So in 2000 we were bright and sunny, but now in 2016 the rain clouds are starting to form more. So subsequently, as the demand is basically meaning that we also haven't changed our infrastructure. So if you notice, the houses are still the same with the same dimensions, but we're just getting bigger with the numbers. So we're squeezing more and more.
That tells a very accurate and understandable story.
Thank you.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Now, since Maggie and Chris kind of had the same general idea, does someone over here want to share?
Mine is the same.
The same.
Is it houses?
Part of the champions.
They're tall buildings.
So, very like specific. So I just did a little line, but then I'm like, I want buildings in there. So I don't know, I start with data first and I look at picture.
And that's perfectly fine. That's how your head processes it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, thank you. We are going to move forward, and I'm going to do some little quizzes now. So is this an infographic or data visualization, and why?
Infographic.
Why?
It's pretty.
Because I don't see any actual data other than a common theme.
Did you make that?
No.
I was like, wow.
Source.
Oh,
Yes, I did my research and pulled things off the internet, yes. So, what do you like and what do you dislike about this one?
It looks cool, but there is no like data image.
What do you think it means?
Social media?
It's a lot of nature.
It just
I think there's different means of communication or use of social media.
This is actually from I totally forgot the name of the company at the moment, but this is something that a company uses to represent the service that they offer. So pulling all this stuff together, all of their ways of being out there in the world and having it be accessible through them. So I am a little critical of this one. I also think it's cool. I like that it moves, and these kind of things can move as well. But taken out of their website, it doesn't mean a whole lot. It could have meant a lot of different things.
I thought it was Facebook, honestly, because there's like a lot of likes and stuff, so I thought it was.
but then I feel like it's color coded for some reason. Like I've noticed all the social medias are dark blue. And then like there's not a lot of red, but like Pinterest, maybe that's like, I don't know.
Pinterest equals happy.
I just feel like it wants to be color coded.
It sounds very little outside of the context.
Right. And how many people would spend this much time looking at this to try and figure out what it meant?
Some people would want to spend a lot of
Probably
time.
broken a record today.
Okay, next one. Musical data visualization. What does this mean? And first of all, is it an infographic or data visualization? Kind of says right on the screen, doesn't it?
What does it say?
Can't see
What are the words on the right?
Those are different bands and singers.
Wait,
And then these are the types of music.
The top artists for each genre.
I'm guessing it's how they can identify in multiple ways, because some of them have more than one line to them.
Like Amy Winehouse is identified as alternative and jazz.
That's like something new to them.
I like that everybody's doing this.
I mean, it's funny, like electronic touches everything.
So what do you like or dislike about this? Other than the fact that it's too tiny, you can't really see it very well.
I like the color scheme.
I find it hard to read with like the lines over each other, because you have to like really try to follow it.
you have to turn your head, which is not very accessible friendly.
I like if they're trying to show how much overlap there is in genre, then that is accomplished with this particular design.
I was gonna say if they're trying to show how complex something is.
This tiny information up top says each line represents connections between genres of music and top artists as of March 26, 2014.
So this is what people in 2014 listened to.
Apparently so. So, a little too busy, a little bit challenging to understand and interpret. Next one. What does this mean?
That makes so much sense now. Where's that sense in here?
I love this one. Yeah.
We can show Caroline this.
What or where?
Yeah.
It's so that it's taken before.
How did the people in, what is that, Nevada? Nevada and even Eastern Oregon?
Even Montana has
Yeah,
no
it's
pizza
like
places there.
Idaho. Wait.
Where's the
Idaho?
pizza? Oh, look at Maine too.
The whole chunk of Maine is like, nope.
So it was really easy for us to pick up on this really quickly as to what this was, right? This was actually listed as one of the best. It's a,
Data visualization?
is it one or is it the other?
I would think.
I think it's a data visualization.
Yeah.
Even though they're not specific numbers, the colors and the images represent those numbers. Okay, I think I have one last one for you.
I like this one.
Infographic. This is someone's personal life as a visualization.
As it stands, it feels like it's just data visualization because I don't actually see the connecting story until you told me that, or until I read the source. Then it became an infographic only because you're telling me what that means. But on the surface, I don't know if I could tell what it meant.
It's kind of a bunch of data visualizations put together.
This is a tricky one because it really has both. So it has these nice pictures, like I would call this an infographic. The cheese and meat thing, I would call an infographic, but then there's data visualizations as well.
Do they have to be mutually exclusive?
No, they do not. You missed that part.
Sorry.
Which one can be one and which one can be the other? Let's see. An infographic cannot contain a data visualization, but a data visualization can contain an infographic
So in that respect, I would say it's a data visualization.
because it contains infographics.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. See, we learned even though we came in late. Okay, one last thing I want to tell you about before we practice again. Social math. This is actually something I learned about quite a bit in my public speaking class recently. When we talked about how to make numbers make sense when you're speaking to large audiences. So social math places statistics within a human context. It tells a story just within a few words or within a few pictures or sentences. And it usually evokes an emotional response. That's the most important thing to get from this slide. So this is an example of social math. What does this tell you?
That Nevada spends too much money on locking up their kids.
Does it tell a story? Does it evoke emotion? Okay, that's social math. It's a pretty simple concept. There's what I want to say. But if you keep it in mind, it makes your data a little bit more interesting. Okay, I'm going to open that door back up because it is getting even warmer as we. I don't care if there's noise in the background. It's so hot in here. Okay, what I'd like you to do is team up. There'll be obviously one group of 3 and one group of 2. You're going to grab some markers and a piece of poster paper, and then I'm going to hand you one of 2 tasks, just like the first one, but a little bit different. The 2 different tasks are create an infographic that demonstrates the college student fatalities in America caused by excessive alcohol consumption, Or create an infographic that shows EBI data for student satisfaction by gender identity. And these are both, again, create your own numbers to make it however you want to make it.
Oh, we
Okay,
don't
so
have a
pick a
choice.
hand. Maggie, pick a hand.
Go right, left.
Oh, and Maggie picked right. Which one did you get?
That's right, Danny.
EBI data for student satisfaction.
There you go. Okay, and I want to say, we started a little bit late. Let's do like whatever you can come up with in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay? So be as creative as you want. There's lots of markers here. And then we will share what each group came up with. You want one?
You should go over there.
Tack.
What color would you like?
Any.
Maggie's taking all the happiness.
That'd be interesting to see what people come up with, because of course I had things in my head as I was writing these different scenarios. But my head not necessarily match what anybody else comes up with.
Okay, let's come up with our data first. Numbers. 1,000.
By year.
The college student studies in America. You can do it by year. Year by year, we go state by state. We go state by state. Wait, that's a data visualization.
Yeah.
Maybe let's just represent a student.
No, college student studies in America. That's
General.
I know, there's so many things.
1,000%.
Infographic. Wait, let's stick to infographic and do. I keep on thinking about
No, I was thinking.
yeah, I keep on thinking about data visualization.
What if we did
Here I was looking at just a picture. Where it's just like, yeah, like this tombstone and writing on it is just
People are saying that campus, their generations is like in theory, EBI would say on these,
So this is the USA.
not all like,
I wonder if we could say like 1,000 people surveyed. And then like three groups and like maybe like a foaming beer cup on 90%, 90%.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I did like 1,000 people surveyed and like this is how like this is a group of people. And
But I
it's
think
like
it's like
this
these
is
are
here.
proportionate to like.
I changed it back to see what the infographic was.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Let's say that like, there's more like small stuff there.
I always just think of like a path, like a road when I think of infographic. I know. I can pick up more of those one,
So
right?
then up here, what would you do?
Sorry, one of those guys.
And then, let's say mostly.
So tell me more about the path because I struggle to see that with that.
Yeah, well, they go from like different locations or
Just do
something.
it
But I
on-
think that's, I keep on thinking about data visualization. Now I'm just confused.
Maybe a road, so you could tie it with driving.
Right, that's what I was
We
thinking.
did like, so this is again then, this is the US, and what if we did a road map, and we had pinpoints like your Google.
And here I was thinking about like tombstones. Where you can start with a car and you go east and then I'm kidding.
So like, it could be a car,
Yeah.
and then it could have pinpoints across the country,
Uh-huh.
and then that could represent, like certain colors represent the number of like high alcohol or something. So there's no pizza here, so there's probably a lot of alcohol here.
Or it could be.
That's true. Pizza Hut.
I like how you tie together the points of the presentation, yes.
Oh. An infographic. Quote. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's good. Who's good at drawing country?
I just need a visual on this. I just,
Yeah.
I just need a visual, I need to see, I know. That's actually probably what made me think of it.
And then the right place like here.
Been studying a lot of maps lately.
That's Michigan.
Remember this. General rough outline.
And then there's this.
That's right.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna use this as the outlines, we can use these as the different colors because there's so many.
Sure.
Because that's what we do in housing, we're a lot of pizza. Okay.
Unless of course you're.
Michigan. I know how all those leaks.
What was this facility, right?
I'll search for a quote.
What areas were-
Normalistic pressures that can bring in related information that can be unquantifiable in a quote.
This is like the best we're gonna get, right?
Yes, looks good.
That means they're,
And then do I put like a road over it, like on top of it? Or you want me to do a road map under it with points over it?
What was Michigan's? Just, no.
I think anything with a road.
I'm gonna put the road on it.
Yeah, we'll start at Seattle.
Yeah.
And then
Do you want me to like do that?
Well, I'm programming with taking surveys. Very good. We could see. Alright, then I'll look at your tomorrow. We're gonna pretend that this is.
Okay, I found your quote.
She's done from the beginning for first years. Good job,
Hey, Carmen, you think you can wrap this up in about one more minute?
Yeah.
Bye, Darlene, see you tomorrow.
What was it for, where was it for?
When I was upside down, I thought this was a shark with the mouth.
Oh.
So I'm gonna just put random marks, does that sound good? Since I'm not really gonna have a data.
Kind of.
No, I'm receiving a quote. It's unquantifiable emotion.